You mentioned this book during our first conversation about what an imagined future society would look like. Your materials design engine is looking to eventually create these materials, and I'll let you say the futuristic materials that you want decades from now. But what was that book?
So the book was called Planet Yarga. So the
Mhm.
beautiful thing about Planet Yarga is, of course, we can't verify the veracity of the claim, right, of this author. But the author, named Stefan Dared was a multimillionaire engineer. So, goals for us. Like he was a very successful entrepreneurial engineer. And he went on record after writing this book, and he said, and his whole family backed him up. They were there. He claimed that he had actually uh, run into these aliens for no lack of a better term. He said that these beings, whatever you would like to call them, told him over the span of 2 days they brought him into his ship, or however you like to describe it. That's how they described it, right? And they explained to him their philosophy, how their culture works, how their science works, how their society is built. And so there's incredible detail. And here's the cool thing. So this book was written in the 60s. It was released late 60s, and then later versions rehashed in the 70s and 80s. And if you look at what's described, the technologies that are described in this advanced society, he's literally describing iPads without using the word. For example, there's things like, glass where the text would change and you could touch it. This
Mhm.
was like Steve Jobs level stuff, like things that he was like thinking of.
Maybe Steve Jobs read it.
He might have.
I think iPads were definitely in a few science fiction novels, but I love that
Yeah,
for sure.
right? Absolutely. There was also the fact that they had done the cost benefit analysis, and they realized that planes aren't the most efficient way of transporting mass people. So what they have is a inter planet, like around the entire planet train system that connects everything. And you know what it's using? Superconductors, room temperature
Of
superconductors.
course.
So that was.
They hadn't figured out the air resistant suspension by then yet. I mean, just
Right.
kidding. To Mach 31. No, but that's awesome. They were using superconductors.
Yeah, they truly were. And, they talk about physics that they claim we don't know yet, which allows for their faster than light capabilities. And so that's part of like why I do think even just looking at the observables, what these pilots have been talking about, our physics aren't perfect. Like it's definitely not able to accurately describe how these things move. So we're very much in the 1911 scenario where we're seeing superconductors for the first time, and our physics tells us that shouldn't be possible. And so it's just
Mhm.
a matter of time before we find new physics that actually says, nope, this is how it works. And so this book goes into detail about their engineering, how their houses are built to be optimally spaced, and all of these things. And so what I see as sort of the future is this. They're, by the way, hardcore sustainability type folks. They are extremely like pro sustainability. All their engineering is based on that. So, the future of the materials that we create through the simulator, eventually, I want them to be as sustainable as possible, right, from the get go. And something that the book doesn't talk about per se, but this is just my own sort of dream. And I remember this was one of the first things we talked about was this idea of merging biology and technology to the point where technology is indistinguishable from biology and
Yeah.
from nature, right? So imagine trees that legitimately distribute Wi-Fi and handle cellular connections and all that stuff. Imagine houses that you can grow, and they're very technological. They have circuits all around, but they're super sustainable and they're biological. That's sort of the end goal of this engine, is to be able to create those kinds of highly advanced materials, and also the materials that allow us to, let's say, decouple from the Higgs field, the thing that gives things matter, right? And allows for these almost anti-gravitational like
That's what I was waiting for. The anti-gravity play.
that
Anti-gravity and the
yeah.
reproducing circuits is pretty amazing too. I love that it's like a growing world. Yeah, it's a growing world of technology. I mean, that's beautiful. That's an amazing image.